Of the Sun, everybody. The name is Blue Fang, and as we are on the penultimate episode of the Ocarina of Time series, tomorrow it will end. I've decided that post production me, who hasn't played this game in damn near a month, is going to go back through all of his videos and rank the dungeons in Ocarina of Time. Going back on my thoughts, seeing what I thought. Going back on my thoughts, seeing what I thought. Yeah, wow, great wording. But in short, I'm just going back to what I recorded, reviewing my opinions, and telling you where I rank the 9 dungeons. Now, I say 9 because what it's counting as a dungeon are the 3 you go through as a kid, being the Great Deku Tree, Dodongo's Cavern, and Jabu Jabu's Belly, as well as the Forest Temple, the Fire Temple, the Water Temple, the Shadow Temple, the Spirit Temple, and Ganon's Castle. Those is what I consider dungeons in Ocarina of Time. No mini dungeons like the Ice Cavern or the bottom of the well have been accounted for during this ranking. So, with all of that being set in place, let's get into the ranking itself. Coming in with number 9, Jabu Jabu's Belly. I'm gonna be real here. This and number 8 are probably down to like the most could probably like tied for being the worst, but through this let's play, I definitely say the one that I had the more negative opinion of was Jabu Jabu. Like seriously, this dungeon almost got me to almost convinced me that it was a bad idea to continue recording this series. So let me just point this out to you. This dungeon, ugly as fuck. The flesh aesthetic, it doesn't work. Like in this place. I get that it's kind of supposed to be gross, like the inside of a dungeon, and I did like Clanker's Cavern and Banjo Kazooie, but I don't like it here. I don't like it here. Rudo is, in my opinion, the worst of the sages. Such a pain, unironically, such a bitch to deal with. And I wasn't encouraged to save her. I just wanted to keep her there and get the sapphire and go. The boss is an alright boss, kind of mid. And the boomerang is the worst example of this game being like you only use it in this dungeon. I'll be honest. Like in short, I don't think anything happens. At its worst, it's bad with the dungeon design and Rudo, and when at its best, it's just kind of alright, and that's not enough to save this place. So Jabu Jabu's Belly, I'm considering it the worst of not only the kid dungeons, but all the dungeons in the game. But coming in soon after, we have number 8, the Spirit Temple. Now it's time to get into the worst of the adult dungeons. Oh boy, where do we begin? Lens of Truth puzzles. Let's start with that. Where you can just put them on and you might see an invisible wall. Yeah, I'm kind of glad that they waited to give these until very late. But even then, I still feel like it was too early to give them to you. I don't like Lens of Truth puzzles. I don't like puzzles where it's just, oh, there was no way you could have possibly been able to tell that this thing was going to happen at this place unless you use this item. Like invisible objects, I will give this dungeon this. When it comes to creepy, it excels. And I definitely feel like from a story perspective, this should be a part where Link questions whether Hyrule's even worth saving. But moving on, every dungeon gives you an item. The Jabu Jabus gave you the boomerang, and this time is my least favorite item in the game, the Pegasus boots. I hate how they don't give you traction, and in short, it's just, oh, you need extra distance? Alright, wear these unwieldy boots, and try and go fast enough that you can reach the legend time. It's just basic and generic and bland. Bongo Bongo is not a fun boss. I'll be fully honest and admit that here. Even if I did find him significantly easier this playthrough as compared to the 3DS playthrough. And I always kind of hated that the Pegasus boots are required, so that way you can have some form of stability in the fight. But uh, aside, I didn't like this temple because aside from the creepiness factor, it just wasn't good. And I want to keep this in mind: on any given day, Jabu Jabu and the Shadow Temple can be swapped around for my least favorite temple in the game. It's just this time I thought that Jabu Jabu's was worse. And since we're on that track, the next few dungeons are more cemented and way better than this, and I'm talking way better. Because at number 7, we have the very first dungeon you would play through, the Great Deku Tree. This one is the worst of the good dungeons just because of its job of being a tutorial dungeon. To say it's a bad dungeon is not a good thing to point out. Is not good, not a good take. It is a good dungeon. It's just the shortest, and forced to be an intro, which I do like. By far the shortest in the game, but again, it's your intro dungeon. It kind of has to be. Goma, fairly easy boss, although surprisingly I wouldn't say he is the easiest boss. And I would say that even when I played it for the first time, I think I was like 13 or so when I first played it on the 3DS version, I thought Goma was creepy. And then when I replayed it again when I was 18, I still thought Goma was creepy, but I just had bigger balls in realizing, oh yeah, it's the first dungeon. Unironically, this is the slingshot's best use purely because it stays useful when you're as a child instead of just being overshadowed by the arrow. Arrow is whenever you play anything else because Link never changes ages. It's just a basic dungeon. There's not really much more you can say for or against it, and it's kind of its job. It did it well, but I think other dungeons did their jobs better than this. Anyways, coming in at number 6, we have the Forest Temple. I like the Phantom Ganon fight on a conceptual level quite a bit. I like the bow being a nice parallel to the slingshot. As you know, the slingshot was the first item you got as a kid Link. The bow is the first item you got as adult Link, both of them being projectiles. And from a story perspective, I love this place a lot. But y'all want to talk about how the friggin' water temple is like the most confounding dungeon in the game? Nah, you need to talk about how the forest temple is the most confounding. I always get lost here. And like, you know, during the LP, I was like pretty proud of myself that for most of the kid dungeons, I didn't have to really look at guides. And then there was this place, and it was just, oh my goodness, I'm lost. And hot take, the music here is hot garbaje. That like I can't exactly replicate it well, but I think the music here is absolutely just hot garbaje. Never been a fan of it, and I've just been like, it's not good. It really isn't. I think this place is overrated as hell. I'm gonna state it. How this is the fan favorite dungeon eludes me. But then again, I could also be autistically retarded, because you may have noticed we're 6 entries in, we're about to exit we're about to get over the halfway mark, and a certain particular dungeon that everyone hates hasn't been displayed yet. And trust me, it's not number 5. Number 5 is the Fire Temple. I've always liked the Gorons, especially Darunia being my favorite of the sages, so I was always more motivated to help these guys out. Volvagia, fairly easy boss if you know what you're doing. I just used hammer and forgot to use sword, and I just kept using hammer. I like how all the keys are gotten from saving the Gorons, and it actually feels like you're doing things. And even though I don't like wearing the Goron tunic, I like everything else about the Gorons, and of course, hammer. Who doesn't like hammer? Making you feel very, very strong. It's just the fire temple is very pleasant. That's all I can really say. Aaron Hansen, I don't understand why you don't like this place. But coming in at oh yeah, the Muslim chanting that was also removed. I can honestly go either way with. But at number 4, we have Dodongo's Cavern. First things first, this is the best child dungeon by far. It's not even close. Um, who doesn't like being a terrorist and using bombs? And for this dungeon being a fiery palace, you gotta admit they do have some cool shades of blues and green thrown in there, especially in the main room. An interesting little side detail I didn't cover in the Let's Play, and I didn't cover in the Let's Play. I mean, I kind of did, but not in the way I would have wanted. Is that it can be tackled as both a kid and an adult. Both kid and adult Link can go in here. Both of them can fight the boss, and I think that's just very, very neat. I always love that. I love that detail. Maybe I should have went in, fought the boss, and seen what you could have gotten in here if you beat it as an adult. Although the boss, in my opinion, the boss is pretty cool, and like from that perspective. But let's be real, this is the actual easiest boss in the game, not Goma. And in short, yeah, Dodongo's Cavern. I wish I got here on my first playthrough, because if I did, I actually would have been invested and tried beating the game, even if I didn't like Jabu Jabu. I was still like, as an 18-year-old, Dodongo's Cavern was what saved the Zelda series and this game for me, and honestly, what made me want to play through it on YouTube. It's just the next 3 dungeons on this list solidified that love of this game, that love. And speaking of the next 3 dungeons, at number 3, we have the final dungeon being Ganon's Castle. Now, the Golden Gauntlets are a neat item, despite them being kind of useless. Seriously, unless you know to go outside, back to where the Great Fairy Fountain was, and use them there to get double defense, you really don't use them for much. I do like the saving of the sages, helps you feel like, yeah, you're being real powerful, you're getting to see everything you've accomplished, and see these puzzles in the past be almost nothing to you now. And in short, from a story perspective, this place is great and cool. The ending where Link and Zelda reunite, and Zelda basically apologizes for Link for taking away his childhood, and of course, you also have the fan theory being proven true, and at this point, every single timeline splits off from Ocarina. Because of course. But the biggest thing about this dungeon that kind of holds it back is that it's just a glorified enemy gauntlet. Although then again, the Ganondorf and Ganon boss fight. I like both of these boss fights, even if I did have to cheat. I guess spoiler alert, but come on, if you've been paying attention to this series, you know I suck. And with the Ganon fight, I especially did have to wait around for light arrows, but still, pretty cool, dank-ass fights. I like them a lot. But yeah, Ganon's Castle, great from a story perspective, great finale. I'm always looking forward to it. Finally, at number 2, a dungeon most of you were expecting to find at number 9. Yeah, for a hot minute, this was my favorite dungeon. And it almost was like that until a certain other dungeon came up later. But at number 2, we have the Water Temple. Listen, I know that 3D map up there makes this place look complicated as all hell. But I am here to tell you why you're wrong. This place is not that complicated. It's just people always forget to go back and get 2 keys. One of them in the raising platform room, which I didn't fall victim to, and the other one with the Bamba wall, which admittedly I did fall victim to, but once I found that, I was able to basically get through it guideless. The Dark Link fight is cool, if admittedly a bit bogus in how you have to do it. Zora Tunic is the best tunic look on Link. You can see my channel name for reasons why. And with this dungeon being so hookshot dependent, I'm kind of glad we got an upgrade to it, because the range was killing me. And also, 3DS enjoyer here, having the iron boots be put on a button drastically made this place be better for me on top of just the colorations of the walls. The Water Temple is a cool ass dungeon, and I love this place more than most people. But of course, the Water Temple's only number two. For my actual number one fan favorite dungeon is the Spirit Temple. Okay, I know the Mirror Shield is like late game and all that, but I do like how it looks, especially on a Zora Tunic Link. And I also do just in general appreciate this place. Mirror Shield is one of my favorite items. Twin Rova, not only does she look like Harley Quinn, but is just straight up the best boss in the game. Naburu being like the only boss sage. Naburu and Raru were the only sages that weren't introduced beforehand as a part of the initial Act 1 of the Kid Dungeons, but they made Naburu surprisingly sympathetic and my second favorite of the sages. No one's beating Darunia. Iron Knuckles from here on out are getting introduced and are easily, even though they're challenging, are my favorite enemy type in Ocarina. And the real reason I love this dungeon so much, from like the adult dungeons from Water Temple onward, they kind of have mini dungeons to get you to go to the main dungeon. Spirit Temple kind of does that same, doesn't do the same thing, where instead has a section that only Kid Link can go to, and Kid Link does a part of the dungeon for you to get the silver gauntlets and then do the rest of the dungeon as adult. I kind of wish that going into it, there would be more things that Kid Link could interact with in the world that would cause for Adult Link to be able to go ahead and mess with it later. But I'm at least glad there's one required example, even if it is the skull, even if it is rather minor in the whole spirit of things. But yeah, you've seen the ranking. You know the Spirit Temple is my favorite dungeon in this game. And with that, I don't really have much more to say, so I'm going to end it off here. Hope y'all are enjoying the Ocarina of Time series. I had a fun time making it, and it certainly has opened my eyes to other Zelda games, because I actually used to be a Zelda hater. Will I play through other Zelda games in the future? Yeah, but they're not going to come up for a long while. So, until next time happens, the name is Bluefang, and I bid you all a good west positioning of the sun, everybody. I hope you take care, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.